This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Racebot TV Friday Prime Time. Once again, it is the Formula Renault 3.5 series here on the iRacing Esports Network. I am Gonry Maddock, and as ever for this slot during the week, I am joined by the one, the only, Will Vincent. This time we're at Interlagos, and what a fantastic track, Will, to finish off our Friday here. This is one's going to be an absolute just sort of boxing match between these drivers.
Yeah, this is a hard track, Connery, and it's a track that drivers will have to get used to very quickly. It's windy also here at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, and that means that these drivers will have to get used to the varying wind conditions.
Yeah, it does. Just having a look at those values, getting up to 20 kilometers an hour in terms of the gusts around the racetrack, winds to the northwest. So that does mean there's a slight crosswind coming down in towards turn number 1, same down into turn number 4 as well. And those are turns where you really don't want to have any outside factors just messing with the car as you come into those very, very tough corners indeed. We have the provisional qualifying results up, though. Currently it is Rico Alatalo on pole position, and where else would he be, especially when Morgan Morand isn't in the picture for this particular race. A 1:18.739 is the qualifying time he sets. Gets very close to that on his second lap as well, but he won't improve. We have a couple of drivers heading their way across the line to try and finish their second lap, but look, just Rico Alatalo is just so dominant at the front of the field, as he has been throughout this season. 2.5 tenths of a second faster than everyone else in qualifying.
Yeah, indeed. So I'm very unfortunate that I didn't get the chance to go to Sao Paulo in my last trip to Brazil, because this is a racetrack unlike any other, as Carlson moves himself up into third place in that number 5 machine here, Connery, but this really is a racetrack that is steeped in history. Yes, had the first Interlagos and then the second Interlagos, but I mean, who can forget Lewis Hamilton, 2008?
Yeah, exactly, and you know,
It's that Glock. It's that Glock.
Yeah, it is that Glock. I was about to mention it. You cannot forget the famous commentary phrase, "Is that Glock?" Will we have an "is that Glock" moment in this race? Well, there's no championship to be concerned about at this moment in time. We've still got a couple more rounds before that factors in, but still, anything can happen here at Interlagos as the session starts to draw itself to a close. We don't have anyone out there on a flying lap right now, so the grid, as you see it, is pretty much set here, Will.
Indeed so, and don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, if you are looking forward to the World Championship Series in 2019. I can't do it on that one. I've got to do it on this one. So, wait for me. Connery, bring it to me again.
Anyway, as we get things going here on this particular broadcast, Will, you've got something you want to add?
Yes, indeed so, because coming up in 2019 is the 10th anniversary of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Yes, I don't WWE style right now, but I'm looking to hopefully get that graphic up for you. And I can't, but the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, the eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, brought to you by iRacing. It is coming to you live in just a few weeks' time. There we are. Graphic up on your screen right now. Daytona, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, February the 12th. And the thing about today, Connery, is that we've got ourselves drivers entering the first ever eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series draft. Ray Fowler, I will tell you, is going to be drafted 29th. And this is a driver who's won more Peak Antifreeze Series championships than anyone else on iRacing.
Yeah, he's going to be an absolute asset to whichever team that he gets to drive for this season. That draft is currently live right now on the iRacing Facebook page. So if you're a fan of NASCAR and the Peak Antifreeze Series here on iRacing, then just take a little bit of a gander over there. But don't go away from our stream by any
means.
Leave us. Because this is our qualifying grid for this edition of Friday Primetime. Rico Alatalo once again lines himself up on pole position, but this time he shares the front row with Stefan Chantal, with Joni Kajanen and Matteo Calastani making up row number 2. Syandra and Victor Preto, though, they'll line up in P5 and 6 before we get to see Steven Gatesman line up in 7th. Tony Repuzad, their highest I-rating driver in the entire field, will have to start from 8th place on the grid. David Saranzo, P number 9, with Claudio Candio lining up in the 10th position. Daniel Berenson lines up P11 with Torben Fehler, P12 with David Dendeldot, P13. Oli Foka makes an appearance in P14 with Christian Otarola in P15, Rob Boa, P16, Ruslan Sabatov in 17th place, Aurelian Gimlewitz, P18 with Richard Holt, P19, Dan Bufton, P20, and Jamie Hall will round out your 21 car grid here for this evening's race. 25 laps then going to be on the cards for this one as the drivers will get themselves to that starting grid. We've got a maximum of 20 seconds before that green light will show, and these cars charge down towards turn number 1. And it's a thing that gets mentioned on the Formula 1 broadcasts a lot. The front of this grid is uphill, whereas the back of the grid is downhill. Maybe that'll be a cause for confusion for those inside of that mid-pack, as there's the 2-minute mark. Here come the engines as well of these 3.5 litre machines. Green flag will show. Rico Alatalo gets himself off and away at the front. Slow start for Steven Chantal, though. It might just be 3 wide for B number 2 coming down in towards turn number 1, but Chantal holds on. It is 3 wide, but further back, though. Victor Preto getting himself involved in the middle of that one. Gets a good run off the corner through towards Curva del Sol. He'll get himself a good couple of positions as a result of that one. Calastani has had a little bit of a mare of a start as well. Stephen getting challenged by Steven Gatesman down towards turn number 4. Repuzar's looking aggressive as well. Soranzo down the inside of Syandra further back through the field as they get themselves through the Interlagos. We've had an incident right at the back of the field involving a number 21 car and the number 11 that have gotten themselves into a tangle. That's Dan Buffton versus Jamie Hall, and we've got Oratola as well having a couple of issues. So the cars that are running at the back of the field there, Will, they've run into issues, whereas everyone at the front, even though it was feisty, have survived. Yeah, Stefan Chantal at this moment in time had a little bit of a sketchy start there initially, but was able to fend off the challenge from the likes of Kajanen and Kalistani behind. Kalistani has recovered somewhat, though. He did start P number 4, just gets knocked down into P number 5, but it was a fantastic start, though, for Victor Preto. He gains 2 positions on the start and looking to gain much, much more on that later on as well, as he has 2 cars ahead of him that he can potentially challenge. Here comes Joni Kajanen then around the outside at P number 4. At turn number 4, excuse me, on Stantel. Oh, they'll make it work side by side through there. They'll challenge then up the hill towards Ferradura on the second time around this racetrack. Victor Preto also gets himself involved as well.
You're completely right there.
He also had an absolutely fantastic start, and he has a stack of cars ahead that he can challenge as well. So looking like a good day for the driver of the number 17 at this moment in time, as they're on lap number 4 of this 25-lap event. Here comes Claudio Candio, though, P number 9, challenging Feeler as he tries to defend on the outside through the Descida del Lago. Almost runs out of circuit there, squarely over the curb, as Candio manages to squeak his way past, or does he, because Feeler's able to fight back up to turn number 6 on Ferradura, but Candio takes way too much out of the entry. He goes up but over. There's a barrel roll for good measure, and that is going to be the end of his race, and perhaps Feeler as well. Dendel will also get a huge amount of damage for that. As we'll get things going here, it's that instant as cycled again. Yet more drivers in this mid-pack towards the back of the field. Endeldot will have to try to recover from this one, since he does have a very damaged front wing in this situation, and Candio is still out there on track. That's just struggling to get himself around the racetrack right now. He's coming up towards the final turn, and he's just absolutely just lost all control of that car. Endeldot's down on towards the lane as well, so terminal damage for a good couple of cars here, but the race as it stands right now still has Riku Alatalo right at the pointy end of the field. He's managed to stretch out the gap though all the way back to Joni Kajunen in P number 2. It stands at 3 seconds right now, so this is an absolutely fantastic effort from Riku to try and extend this gap at the front of the field, as he has done so throughout this season. Usually he has had a challenger that can bring it back later on in the race, the likes of Morgan Morand, but since he isn't in this race, this looks to be a very clean run to the end here for Rico Alatalo, you know, if things go his way. Yep, he is. Gap up to 3.5 seconds. So Alatalo stamping his authority on this race and, of course, this series as well. But things are looking much more competitive further back. You've got the trainer Kalistani, Gatesman, Repuzard, Soranzo that could get itself into an altercation in the not too distant future. Soranzo's been looking aggressive so far. As you've got something, well, simply doesn't look to be the case as they head their way across the line. It will be a 120 flat from Stephen Gatesman versus a 120.198 for Matteo Calistani. So make that around about 1.5 sort of tenths of a second going the way of Gatesman that time. So the closer he gets here, the more benefit he'll be getting from the draft. But he does have to be careful because of the dirty air factor in these open wheel machines. But you'll be definitely be thanking the draft coming down all the way from turn 12 all the way down towards turn number 1. Same out of 3 towards 4 as well. You can see him close up coming through the middle sector now, up through 7, up through 8 as well. It's so easy to go side by side through here because the advantage switches oh so often, and the track is pretty wide as well, so you can make that sort of thing work. But Gatesman's still pretty far off going side by side with Calistani, but he's putting the work in. Yeah, he really is. A couple of the other drivers doing well in this race. Of course, we've got Gatesman, we've got Reprizard up positions, Saranzo's also up positions, Ruslan Sabatov up from 17th on the grid to P number 8. Fantastic effort from him so far. Berenson's up 1, Aurelian Gimlewitz as well, up 8 positions, up to P10. So thanks to a lot of the instance that we had there in that mid-pack, a lot of these drivers have really reaped the benefits and have managed to avoid the instance going on ahead of them and get themselves further further up the field. That's going to be very beneficial in terms of their points coming towards the closing stages of this season. And it gets to the stage where pretty much every single point, every single race matters in that one. Of course, with how the iRacing Championship points work, if you do 4 races in a week, then your best race will be the only race that counts. But then if you do any more than 4 races, it's the average of the best top few, I would say, because it gets a little bit complicated the more races you do. But if you've done only a couple of races this week, this can be one of the most important ones.
Yeah, and it's 25% as the official iRacing rules. So if you do 4 races, it is your top 1 race that counts. So if we look at Atala right now, this will be his race. This is because he's running in the Trinkel Field race, and this is where the money matters. Of course, we've seen this here, Connery, in terms of the Porsche Pro Series, where some drivers run once, like Max Benecke, for example, but also we see drivers running 2, 3, 4 races, but only the top 1 race for them will count if they do 4 races or less. As soon as they go over 5 races, that is when things get more complicated.
Yeah, it does, and if you've raced in any official sense here on iRacing, then you'll definitely know that sort of system, especially if you're trying to go for championship wins in your particular division. But these guys, all of them right now, are in Division 1 with the exception of the likes of Fieler and Gatesman, and of course Richard Holt as well, that are down in Division 2. So usually people like to say, oh, like the Division 1 is all that matters, but for the average iRacer, a win in their division is still an absolutely fantastic achievement. As looking at the race as it goes right now, we as a result of those incidents, they have split out the field a little bit, but there's still a close one going on between Sabatov, Berenson, and Gim Lewis potentially, just for positions at the tail end of your top 10 here, Will.
Yeah, as we're just looking behind us, actually, as Toby and Fuller is looking to put the battle on. So only Quokka cannot do that in towards the Senny S. So now we're going to go back on board with Gumnix versus Daniel Berenson. And the gap is 1 second right now, but Berenson is right behind Sabatov as they come down towards turn number 4. You see the defensive line there be taken by Sabatov in towards turn number 4, and that means that Berenson could not do anything into that 4th corner.
Yeah, it was a very aggressive move there from Ruslan Sabatov into turn 4. It is potentially an overtaking opportunity because he's carrying such speed all the way down that straight between 3 and 4 that you can stick it down the inside there. It is very sketchy, and it's very, very risky as well, which I guess is, well, coming through turn number 4, you have a lot of runoff. So if you're on the outside that line there trying to defend, then you do have that option to completely bail out the corner if you so decide, but it didn't happen that time. Ruslan Sabatov very, very confident in his defense over that position right now. Berenson's actually dropped back here coming through the final sector of this lap, so I don't think he'll be able to challenge now into turn 1, but this brings up the discussion now, Will, of the DRS activations. We bring it up every single time, but the end of the race, or more the second half of the race, is where those where those DRS activations matter, excuse me, as I tried to get a hang of my English for this broadcast, but it's all about having them saved for these late race battles.
Yeah, and one thing that's worth noting right now is that Sabatov has 600 of a second over Daniel Berenson. That means, Connery, that he's not quite in draft range. Realistically, if you're going to make the pass, it's going to be 4 times of a second back or lower. Sabatov right now, you can see as our graphic ticks through turn 6 and 7 to turn 8, that Sabatov is pulling out a bit of an advantage, and realistically you've got to be within 4 times of a second to make that DRS work, because otherwise it's a waste of muscle.
Yeah, you do have to be careful when those sort of decisions have to be made over the course of this race. But right now, we're just setting up for maybe a couple of late race battles, especially involving the likes of Sabtok, Berenson, Gimlewitz. And Gimlewitz, well, he is closing up on the 2 cars ahead right now, so he may well just make this a 3-car fight for the positions just at the tail end of your top 10, P number 8 to be exact in that one. But if you're more interested in the front of the field, well, there's not much to look at because it's Riku Alatalo for Glacier Racing as ever, pulling away. Gap is up to 6 seconds, and it's just Alatalo doing Alatalo things, Will.
Yeah, it's Riku Alatalo being Riku Alatalo, and the thing is, you mentioned it before we came on air, actually, Connery, that Alatalo in this race is almost going to be alone. He's got a gap of 6.3 seconds right now to Joni Heikkinen, ironically, Club Finland driver, but Alatalo in this race has had it all to himself.
Yeah, he has, and it doesn't look like that Joni Heikkinen can even decide to challenge coming into the final couple of laps. He's running lap times about 0.2 of a second slower than Alatalo at this moment in time, which is about the same as the difference between them in qualifying. So Heikkinen doesn't have the pace in the car right now. He'll be content with settling for P number 2, and Chantal, well, he's starting to make a couple of inroads on Heikkinen. Goes a little bit faster than him last time by, but he requires a little bit more effort as well if he's going to get himself higher up on that podium, and it could be argued that he's more concerned about Kalistani behind.
Yeah, he is, because the gap between Kalistani and Chantal right now is 0.7 of a second. There is the gap on your screen, Connery, as Chantal in the number 9 machine has got, let's not forget, Kalistani is a huge name in terms of iRacing, especially in this car. He has been basically all over the place looking to get victories, and this is the Positive Sim Racing University of Isabella 1 car of Matteo Kalistani. I'm sure Jake Sparrow will be proud I got that all in one take here. But the Positive Sim Racing car here of Matteo Kalistani has not found the way to get past yet here. And I think that for Kalistani, he's just on a different downforce setting.
It certainly seems to be the case. We'll have a closer look at it as they come out of Yunsao to number 12, and on that very long run through the Subida des boxes, and of course the Akabankadas, the turns 14, 15, which aren't really turns, more like slight curves at the end of the racetrack. But Kalistani, no matter what downforce setting he has on that car, he does have the benefit of the draft right now that can bring him back into contention for that final step of the podium. Goes faster than Chantal last time. Chantal with a 119.991 compared to the 119.7 of Kalistani. So Kalistani is really making it work at this stage and might just get that final step. Yeah,
he might do. Kalistani has been on board of him then through Sector 1 into Sector 2. The gap between himself and Kalistani is 0.7 of a second right now. But the thing for Steven Chantal is that he knows how to hold that position. He's got 0.7 of that second, as I said just now, Connery, and he's not lost time. He's being what I like to call the average driver that just does not find a way of messing up.
He doesn't, but he requires no mistakes from now until the end of the race. They'll have around about, well, it's going to be 11 laps to go the next time they head their way across the line. So still plenty of time to work with for all the challengers behind to try and get their act together and pull off a pass before the end of this race. But Chantal, he won't have to defend into turn 1 this time, so that is a big benefit for him. But Kalistani is getting ever closer, another 1/10 of a second, or close to a 1/10 of a second, knocked off that last time. And Gatesman, well, he was looking to join this battle as well, but just dropped off all over that last lap. So this looks like it's going to be a duel between Chantal and Kalistani in the next couple of laps or so.
Yeah, I was just having a look at the lap times here, and actually that Gatesman is losing a little bit of time, but not that much to Kalistani. Kalistani, however, in terms of his battle with Steven Chantal, it's been little by little. But the thing is, Connery, as soon as you get within 0.8 of a second, which is where Kalistani is right now, you have to think about where do I gain the advantage? And it's not out the inside, it's not out the center rest. You've got to make a big move work, and that's the issue with Interlagos. That yes, we're doing 25 laps here today, but it's only realistically 3 overtaking opportunities.
Yep, there are. There's currently a dueling pair of Berenson and Sabatov, P7 and 8, and there's also Jim Lewis getting himself involved for P10 as well. And Berenson has managed to make his way through on this one, away from our pictures, but Sabatov, he's not going to give up here as he heads his way out of Yunsao. Jim Lewis is also behind as well, looking to get himself involved and stuck in with this. Sabatov, can you reply into turn 1 is the question. Berenson's going to go defensive anyway, despite what Sabatov decides to do. He'll aim for the inside line. He'll dive for the inside line. Scares Berenson towards the outside, but Berenson's able to hang on, or is he? Because coming through the Curva del Sol now, Sabatov has the inside line. He may even have the DRS activated as well as the runs get stalled out through here. 2x2 like Noah's Ark into 4 as Jim Lewis and Oleg Kvoka decide to battle it out as well. So Sabatov and Kvoka on the inside, Berenson and Jim Lewis on the outside. They'll continue 2x2 up to Thurdura now. Berenson's going to be in the inside for turn 7 at the battle right at the front, and he'll manage to hang on as well. Fantastic fighting amongst all of them as Sabatov has a little bit of a peak.
You know what there, Connery? No one on the right line managed to make the move work. We had ourselves Sabatov, who technically had the inside line, didn't make it work. And we had behind the same drivers doing the same thing. But what we've seen was that in Ferradura, the inside line does work. And that was a fantastic piece of Sabatov. Oh my word!
Oh, that's a dive and a half from Sabatov. He almost makes it work, you know, but he loses out so much on the exit of the corner that Kvoka and Jim Lewis, they are so close behind. Torben Fieler as well, out of nowhere, also on the back of this train. And now Kvoka looks to the outside on Sabatov, down into 1 now. Can he make it work on the brakes into here? He can't. Surrenders the corner there to Sabatov. Looks for the better run through the S's and through Curva del Sol. He does get a slightly better run and now can sit in that slipstream to challenge down to 4. Now Kvoka around the outside once again. Sabatov on the inside. Who's going to get the better run through the corner this time? It's going to be Sabatov, but by a millimeter.
Yeah, and Kvoka there disproving the theory that 2 times per second comes when you have a Race.TV logo on your. Oh my word! What is Kvoka doing? It's a Ferradura there.
Yeah, he was looking for a door that simply doesn't exist, and he manages to get away with no contact between the 2 drivers as they'll file their way through 9 and 10 as the battle will calm down just for a moment, but oh my words, the gloves are definitely off in this one. Berenson's looking at this in his wing mirrors just thinking, oh my god guys, there's going to be a huge instant behind me if they're not too careful. Yeah,
and as we go on board with Oleg Kvoka, he has been gaining time over Ruslan Sabatov, lap over lap over lap, but now he's in that dirty air. He's 4 times per second behind. Will Kvoka use that DRS again? As, oh my word, look at the weaving going on there by Ruslan Sabatov as they come down in towards turn number 1. Kvoka passed the line, lost a little bit of time, could not make the move in towards turn number 1, but Sabatov was doing everything he could there, Connery, to make sure that Kvoka could not find a lane in towards turn number 1.
Kvoka again has the better run through Curva del Sol. DRS going to be open for him as well. And look at that overspeed into the Descida del Lago. Easy position gain there from Kvoka. And Sabatov, well, he didn't use any DRS in defense. You have to wonder if he even has any left behind the wheel of that UI1 positive sim racing machine right now as they head their way through 7 and 8 once again. Jim Lewis, oh, he's looking to be aggressive coming through to turn 8 as well. You see a puff of the tire smoke as he locks up the brakes into there. He's currently more focused on this battle with Torben Fieler though, because Fieler has managed to catch up onto the back of this train because of all these guys fighting in amongst themselves. He's just slowly made it work, and now he's looking to gain positions as well.
Let's talk about Angelo. He's down in P number 14 here, Connery. This is a driver looking for a top 5 finish most of the time, and he's down in P number 14. He is struggling right now in that number 6 car.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a moment on lap... No, well, he had to come down on towards the lane because he suffered a little bit of damage on lap 1. So that is what Syandra has had to deal with over the course of this one, just simply on the recovery drive, hoping that drivers on the lead lap get themselves involved in some form of instance so he can gain back positions, gain back championship points, and of course iRacing as well. But meanwhile, Jim Lewitz there against Ruslan Sabatov. Jim Lewitz has managed to make his way through. So Sabatov now, after a very good early start, up into the top 10 from P number 17, drops back to almost dropping out of the top 10.
Yeah, indeed. So that was a textbook move there down into turn number 4 on this racetrack. And well, Gimlet's then into 9th place right now. But not only that, he's also, in my opinion, got the chance to now charge, because he's been losing time over the last few laps over Ali Quokka, but that was all in traffic. Now as in clean air, Quokka has got 5 laps to hold on.
Yeah, he does. Just having a little bit of a look at the lap times. So actually get a look at them next time by, since the ones on the last lap weren't exactly representative with how these guys have been battling. But as Berenson makes his way to the line then, what sort of time is it? It's a 1:19.952 from him compared to a 1:20 flat from Foka. Of course, a good amount slower for Jim Lewitz, but the thing is, he did make the pass over Sabatov that last time by, so that's not exactly representative. And Fila, I think he's just basically just tagging along here in the slipstream. I don't think he has the clear air pace of these drivers in front of him, but he's just using them to his advantage to try and put a gap on the car behind him. Yeah,
I completely agree with that one. As also one thing here, Conrad, we had to do this one, but of course, coming to your... Whoa, what the hell was that? That didn't work out. Let's do this one instead, shall we? Coming up in just a few days' time is going to be the NASCAR Peak Antiquity Series powered by iRacing that I've tried 3 times now to get work, and it's just not doing it for me. But, yeah, Rhea Fowler, drafted P number 29?
Maybe the teams know something we don't. That is only the only solution to that particular, I don't know, piece of news, I would say, from the drafters. We'll get the graphic up. Is it working?
It is now, and that is going to be on February 12th here, live, exclusively on the iRacing Esports Network, of course, brought to you by RaceSpot TV, the official home of the World Championship Series on iRacing. But yeah, Daytona is always going to be that kind of lottery track. It's going to be a case of where you're going to be, and also, are you going to be in the right place at the right time?
Jim Lewitz has made a mistake through Curva del Sol, and now the cars ahead of him. Fila and Sabatov will battle into 4, and Fila, well, he's made his way by. He's showing that he isn't just here to sit in the slipstream all day. He's going to get himself past those 2 cars, one thanks to a mistake, and the other thanks to Sabatov having to slow down for Jim Lewitz. So Fila's really the big beneficiary out of that. He gets himself up into P10 from P12 at the start of this lap.
Yeah, you can see that on your screens right now. Sabatov losing that position down the back straight away, and that's actually going to be a big thing, because if you look at the iRacing differences there, that Fischler is actually 37.91 coming into this race compared to a 44.33 for Sabatov. Sabatov right now is going to be losing iRacing, and Fischler is going to be gaining iRacing right now. Your highest iRacing driver in this race, however, is not doing that great unless your name's Rocco Alatalo. And Alatalo, of course, is leading by a country mile right now. And this is, get this, 8.6 seconds ahead of Joni Karjalainen. And this is a Finland battle going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Finns absolutely dominant in this race. They have been on the iRacing service as well. We have to hark back to the iRacing World Cup as Jim Lewitz, he's got himself into another issue. So the driver on number 7 again up through the exit of the center S's and through Del Sol, Curva del Sol. He's had another moment, and that's on the curb, just on the exit of the S's, just spins the car right around. And we've touched on the subject before here on this edition of Friday Prime Time. These Formula Round 3.5s, they can be very sketchy off the corner and very sketchy on the curbs as well.
Indeed, so here's a look then at the replay of Gimlets as he comes in towards turn number 4. Pushes wide, and that's exactly what you're looking for there. And that's the thing, this car, it is comparable to Formula 3 cars and comparable to the Indy Light Series, but this car has a ton of downforce on it here, Connery, and that means that when you lose that downforce, you lose everything. And for Gimlets and other people here today, they have struggled in the low speed corners.
Yep, they have, and maybe that's some different philosophies coming in with the setup here. Do you want to prioritize the very, very long sort of front straight run from turn 12 to turn 1?
And the humidity, you got to remember the fact the altitude and the humidity here is pretty high.
Yeah, exactly. So all of those things do factor in a little bit when you decide to set the cars up. But Sabatov, oh, he's got himself in another battle now with Fila up side by side up to 6. And Fila makes it work on the inside as has everyone battling up into there. Sabatov has to just wait and try to fight another day. And it's this is the exact same situation that a lot of drivers find themselves in when they've had a very, very good start indeed, like Sabatov has done so. Gaining those positions on the start, where in and amongst all the chaos of everything happening, but the bigger issue is if you can hold those positions when it comes to these battles in the mid to late race.
Yeah, indeed, sir. And this is a long race as well. 25 laps around this racetrack. And again, Rico Atala, he's got himself a dominant lead right now over the driver of Kaljanen. But behind, you're right here, Connie. It's a case of making your moves work when they need to work. And I think that's what's been the issue with Sabatov. I think he got himself a lot of things going early for him, but he used too much DRS, and actually now he's suffering.
Yeah, does he have any available? It's turn 4. Well, he has at least one, as he'll bring himself alongside once again. Inside line taken for 4, and gets it stopped for the corner as well. But there's the curb of death, hard into the barrier for Sabatov. His race is done.
Replay up, and you're right then, it is the curb of death. Here is Sabatov, down to the inside, into the corner. Oh my word, just catches it and yet hard into the Armco barrier.
Yeah, we've already mentioned so many times indeed, how the curbs can kill Formula Renault 3.5s, and it's happened again on the exit of turn 4 as Sabatov hits the barrier. Quite a speed on the inside there after getting sketchy over the curb, gets a little bit airborne as well. He actually is still out there, believe it or not, although without any sort of front nose assembly and a catastrophic amount of front suspension damage. So
Gatesman.
I wouldn't be surprised if he has a meatball flat, but look at Stephen Gatesman then. Oh, he's going to have Mattia Calistani on the menu, at least for turn number 4, but simply wasn't able to get the meal finished, so to speak. I have no idea where I'm going with this metaphor, but either way, Calistani stays ahead.
Yes, the Gatesman actually moves to the inside, tries to take that inside line, loses the position in towards turn number 4, but what we have got to do here, Connery, is go back to the race leader.
Yep, we do. Rico Alatalo, 10 seconds is the gap between him and Joni Kajanen. He just makes it look so easy out there on track in these cars. It doesn't seem like anyone, at least in this particular event, can just, be on his level. He's on the level just above everyone else, and really making that World Championship Series experience work in his favor as he comes across the line. It's going to be another race win for Riku Alatalo there for Glacier Racing. Kajanen finishes second. Stefan Chantal finishes third. Matti Kalstani able to hold on for P number 4 with Stephen Gatesman in 5th place. Tony Repizard 6th with David Saranzo ending up 7th. And meanwhile, the other drivers head their way across the line. No other battles to speak of coming onto this final lap. But, well, that was quite an interesting mid-race there in the middle of your pack with the multiple side-by-side battles going on.
Oh, it was indeed, and we had fantastic battles with Stephen Gatesman, Tony Repizard, David Saranzo, Daniel Berreson, Oli Quirker, and Toby and Fila in that one. But Connery, we have got our top 10, and Ricky Alatalo again winning out by a big margin.
Yep, he does. 10.5 seconds right at the end as we get your official finishing results up on your screen. We've got Chantal finishing in P number 3 as well. Fantastic run for him. Even though he started in P number 2, still solidifying your position in the top 3 is all that's required. As Kalastani remains in P number 4, exactly where he started. Gatesman up 2 positions, up into P5. Tony Repizard up into 6th with Soranzo 7th. Daniel Berenson 8th, Ollie Foucault 9th, and Torben Fieler up into P10. Then as you cycle things back, we've got Richard Holt, P number 11 after starting 19th. Very good run. Same with Aurelian Jumlewitz in P12. But then we have the cars a lap down or more. Ruslan Sabatov with a late race instant finishes in P13 with Syandra P14. And then you have your non-finishers, David Dendeldot, Claudio Candio, Dan Buffton, Jamie Hall, Christian Ottarola, Victor Preto, and Rob Boer, unfortunately, will not finish this event. We do already have a driver waiting for an interview. It's the weekly chat with Riku Alatalo.
Yeah, hello, Riku Alatulu.
What up, what up?
Give us 1 minute. Let's turn this one down. Let's put this graphic on. Ricky Atulu, congratulations once again on a victory on Friday Night Primetime.
Oh, thanks.
So this race for me, seemed easier than anything else you've done this season.
Yeah, I think this race, for some reason, the usual guys you see at the top didn't come. So unfortunately, for example, Morgan Morand wasn't racing, so it was pretty much just from lights to flag, just hot lapping. Unfortunately, hopefully there was more action in the back of the pack for the stream.
How do you keep the motivation going when you know you're leading, you know you're setting fast laps, but there's no one behind you?
Well, obviously, firstly, you have to make sure that you don't do a stupid mistake. Like, for example, in practice in turn 2, it's very easy to clip the inside curb too much and set it into the wall. So you just make sure you don't make those mistakes. And then it's just racing against the clock, basically, trying to improve lap after lap.
That turn number 4 is actually pretty difficult. Explain the way that you have to deal with this Interlagos racetrack.
So what was the first part?
Well, turn number 4 is always the difficulty for a lot of drivers, but explain to you how you have to deal with this Interlagos racetrack.
Well, turn 4, for example, the track just falls out of below you as soon as you go past the initial curbing and start hitting the AstroTurf. So if you go too wide, it just spits you outside. So that's very difficult. And then the turn 2, especially with open wheelers, you have to have quite a bit of throttle on it, and you have to hit the curb quite aggressively, but not too aggressive that it bottoms out to make the car turn nicely into turn 3. Otherwise, it's just have to be early on the throttle and minimize coasting, which is very easy to do around this track.
And how hard is this Formula 1 3.5 in terms of this racetrack compared to what you've done before?
Well, obviously, since it's a grade 1 track and F1 track, it's a bit more forgiving than, for example, say something like Solder. So I think this was a bit of an easier experience, I would say.
We're going next time to the triple reconfigured in Imola racetrack. So the first part, as it's been since 1995, but the last part, that's going to be ultra fast. What do you think about that heading into the 9th round of the championship?
I'm not really looking forward to Imola. It's not one of the tracks I like. And then there's the chicane towards the end of the lap, and I think, considering the damage model that there's going on at the moment, I think it might be a bit challenging or might break the car a little bit if you want to take it too aggressively. So it can be a bit of an interesting race.
Well, before we let you go, Ricky, shout out sponsors, he gets it done.
Well, yeah, thanks to obviously Hall of Glacier, especially Leppälä, Alander and Valkejärvi for racing this week with me.
Well, thank you very much there, Ricky Alatalo. And also, Connie, someone new's here to talk to us.
Oh my god, it's not just Rico Alatalo.
It's Syandra.
Yeah, it is Syandra. Well, Sy, you had a pretty tough race out there today. Just explain what happened in the first couple of laps of that one.
Oh, I think it was a regular sort of turn one shenanigans that kind of bit me. Got damage to my front wing in the first corner. Brought it back to the pits, and ever since then it was a recovery race. After I got put a lap down by the leader, I kind of just set my pace to him and followed him around. And it's frustrating because with my pace, I think I could have got a podium.
Yeah, even just looking at your lap times, you were running in the, you were dipping into the mid 119s, which is definitely podium pace when all things are considered. So, if turn one shenanigans didn't happen, then maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to challenge the likes of Chantal and Kajanen at the end. But just with how this car behaves at this sort of racetracks, you do have the issue of this car being particularly sketchy with curbs, and that is an issue that has really befallen a good couple of drivers here today. Coming out of the center S's, they got a little bit scary, and same with the exit of turn 4 through the Interlagos as well. How tough is this car to drive when you're on that limit and over that limit?
As you said, it is extremely picky about where you put it on the curbs. A foot here, a foot there. On most cars, they don't care about it too much. But in this car, you have to be almost inch perfect, it feels like. Like you said, especially at turn 2, bottom of the Senna S's, that's really where the car can get unsettled. You see a lot of people putting a quick bit of left lock in it to keep the car straight. But I think there's speed to be found. You can put it on the curbs if you mess with the dampers and your driving style a little bit. But it is just so picky, especially when you're side by side with somebody.
Yep, it can be very sketchy indeed. And like I said, we saw a good couple of drivers out there just having just a nightmare with how loose that this car can be on occasion. And just having a look at the schedule right now, if I can bring that one up. We are heading towards Imola, so that's probably the worst track in terms of curbs.
Yes.
So what's going to be the game plan for there?
I think it's just going to be set up the car so it can take those curbs without spinning, without sort of hopping over them, especially Acqua Minerale and the can't remember the name of the chicane, but especially those corners. Yes.
No.
Variante Alta. Yeah, Variante, that's one.
Variante Alta, that's the one. And then Tamburello is also one of those problem areas. But yeah, I think it's just going to be setting it up for stability, honestly, because a lot of people are going to have trouble with those curbs, and kind of taking advantage of their weakness will be a big part of it.
Yeah, and before we let you go, Sai, is there anyone you want to thank?
Well, this is a little bit shorter today because none of my teammates could be bothered to spot for me, but but yes. Some of my teammates who helped me set up the car, who helped me practice, all the guys at Wyvern Racing, basically.
Is that why you crashed in turn 1? Is because you didn't have a spotter warning you of the
incident? Yes, that is my excuse.
Have you been a part of the draft?
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure it's because of the draft. They wanted to watch that rather than watch me race.
Yeah. I mean, let's be frank here, Connery. The draft has been a big thing here on the iRacing Esports Network. The first time ever that there's been a draft, and it's been all for the drivers of the iRacing NASCAR Peak Antiquity Series, and it's been huge. Let's be honest.
It has been absolutely huge, and we do have the results of the draft in. We can't go over it for you right now because it is outside of the scope of this broadcast. But we did mention that Alafala was drafted quite late, which is a very, very interesting decision from these teams. I can't wait to see how that one in particular works out. But a lot of the teams out there, they will have very, very strong pairings. I was just because I know that Williams Esports have a particularly strong one as well. I'd love to see what they can do with a particular pairing. I can't remember the exact names right now. I think it involved Conti and Brian Schoenberg. So that is a very, very strong pairing, especially for the roadside as well. So that would be very, very interesting. But we're not big oval guys. Will is if it's open wheel and is called IndyCar. But yes. For me, then that is just another discipline in racing that we have to be concerned about. Well, but this is still really, really big for the iRacing platform. You have these $100,000 prize pools coming into this, a little bit more for NASCAR now that they have announced bonuses for the drivers that have been drafted. So big money, big sponsors, hopefully a huge amount of eyeballs.
Yeah, we're going to play it. No, we're not going to play it again. But you're right, Connery. It's been a big prize pool for some of these drivers, and the signing bonus of $500 per driver who has been drafted. So we're looking at realistically $112,000 for 2019 in terms of the eNASCAR Peak Annual Series powered by iRacing. But that's not the only series getting of course, the Porsche series, the Porsche Pro qualifying taking place right now. That's also got $100,000 on the line for that one as well.
Indeed, and that's around about time that, it's around about time that we actually wrap up here on Raceport TV Friday Primetime. So very, very thank you for joining us for this particular event at Interlagos in the Formula Renault 3.5 Championship. Join us next week for what should be a brilliant race, 22 laps of Imola. We'll see you then.